We got the Jays season winding down here. Things are a little interesting.
What's the mood? What's the vibe?
Just
From
choked,
swept
fittingly.
What's the vibe?
sweeping
I did.
to
What's
swept.
the vibe?
Like, I'd say, listen, I've steadily said they're going to make the playoffs, right? Like the wild panic one way or the next. All you have to do is look ahead at the sched and see that Texas and the Mariners were going to play each other a lot of times down the stretch, meaning unless the Jays just implode, you're going to make the playoffs by default. And now here we are.
What's it like?
I don't know.
dragging
Have you
this
been
fan
riding
base?
have you guys been riding the wave, or have you been able to like maintain a level head, which I know is not a Toronto thing to do at all. We're talking about sports. Simon, how have you been, my dude?
I mean, I just am so fascinated. Like the thing that I'm going to remember about the season, regardless, like, and it's even funnier if they do make the playoffs, is just like how much the fan base hates the team. They absolutely hate
They're
the team.
horrible to watch.
No one enjoys watching them. Like, they're just ragging on their best players all the time. The fan base is just, they don't know what to cheer for. It's wild. It's crazy to watch.
It's good to watch this fan base like acting like that be dragged with their fingernails clutching on the floor towards the playoffs.
because I think they're gonna. I think they're gonna make the playoffs as well.
Yeah.
Like,
I do too. Yeah.
Not only do I think they're going to make the playoffs, wouldn't it be so fitting for a Toronto sports team that is getting zero hype to like miraculously make the World Series? And I was saying this to Timmy at work the other day. I'm like, this is baseball. It never works
Phillies
out
did
the
it
way
last year.
the Phillies, the fucking like that Red Sox team with like Pierce winning the World Series MVP that gets all the way to the end. That Nationals team a few years back, like
Just get hot,
weird
baby.
shit happens in baseball, and like we're literally Vladdy getting hot for 3 weeks away from this team being like a legitimate World Series team, which is hilarious to think about. And I will sit there with a ton of regret going, I did not enjoy this season and I should have rode the wave. And I'm just can't even enjoy like a run like this. But let's be honest, they're gonna play the Rays and get bounced. So
No, but the thing that I know we've even talked about on this pod is you get in, you have a really, really good pitching staff.
Really
right? Your
good.
pitching staff is so good that you survived your ace, quote unquote, basically just quitting on the team.
Oh,
You've
no.
survived that,
Yikes.
right? And still doesn't matter. You still got horses out there that are putting in work. So if you get into the playoffs, starting pitching is the most important thing. And guess what? You got that. The one thing I will say that I'll be very interested to see what happens. Think of the Jays lineup, right? Biggio somehow has been playing really nice down the stretch. Cool. I've been firmly on the position that I cannot take this team seriously as long as Brandon Belt is in the middle of their order. Okay.
yeah,
Is he still
So-
playing?
He's hurt. He's hurt right now.
Okay.
But think about this, okay? You're going to have coming down the stretch here, or even into the playoffs, who's going to play second base? Who's going to play left field? I ask these questions because you got Varsho, who you got for defensive reasons. Does he play in left field? You have Snyder, who's come up and just been arguably your best hitter for the whole time. that he's
Arguably
been
the
up.
best hitter in baseball since he's been up.
Looks like the guy
So
from
you-
Sicario.
So, right? So you figure he's got to be in the lineup. I mentioned Biggio already, who's been one of your hottest hitters the last few weeks, and he's still got two-hit Witt, who's struggling now, but he's a kind of vet that you would normally start in the playoffs.
All-star.
So who's the odd person out
All-star, he
here? Listen,
Well, here's
Jay's
the
got a
nice
lot
thing,
of
Shelly.
all-stars, right?
Here's the
I
nice
didn't even
thing,
mention
Shelly.
all-star Espinal. Right?
Espinal.
Santiago.
All-star.
Shelly, here's the nice thing. If you're a Jays fan with all these questions,
All-star.
All-Star,
Tough,
True.
tough.
you've got a great managerial mind in that dugout for the
Wow.
Jays to answer these questions, these burning questions as we head towards the postseason. So I think you're in good hands.
What do the computers say, right? What are the computers going to spit back out here? Anyone? No?
Nothing.
I mean,
There's no answer. There's no answer to the test. It's a flawed team. but they're gonna win the World Series. Watch.
They're gonna win
Wow.
the World Series.
There's going to be
Okay.
a championship parade that no one's going to show up to. It's just going to be a bus driving through downtown Toronto with no one there when they win the World Series because everybody
Get out of the
hates their
way!
guts.
What? You're in the crosswalk.
The thing, do you know what was funny though? People, the people that were mad that when they got swept by Texas, and it was like the lowest attended games this season, and people were like, "Where are all the fans? Where are all the fans?" And it's like, okay, well, just because they made up this wild card thing doesn't mean that the team is actually that good. For one, two, men's are out here trying to buy groceries. I don't know if anyone else has been paying attention to what's going on in the world here, but going to
Don't
the
have a lot
Jays
of-
game on like a Tuesday night that's going to cost you
Disposable
a whole lot of
income
money.
for a Tuesday night.
Yeah.
You might want to save that for the weekend. You might want to save that for the Yankees. You might want to save that for another time. But there's this whole thing where people were going at the fans like, where are the fans? It's the biggest series of the year. And it's like, is it? It's the biggest series before the next biggest series of the year,
Correct.
isn't it? Because they got swept and they're still in it. So what the fuck are we talking about here? That was a whole
Really-
narrative for a couple of days that I was like, that's kind of fucked up. What do we
Also, it
do?
was like the first week at school, kids were back at school and stuff. I'm like, that
Exactly.
shit matters. I feel like every year around this time, the attendance kind of dips and it kind of looks empty, regardless of how good they are. It's like, okay, like it's like that 2015 year and that like crazy 4-month stretch after all the trades, like really just fucked with people's minds that like, oh, it's got to be this hype or else
All
it's
the time.
disappointing. And it's like, that was like a one-off.
Yeah, nothing
That's not
can match that.
normal. Like that was just an out of nowhere buy job, and next thing you know, they're just the hottest team in baseball, and it was just riding this super fun wave.
feel like
That's
I did
not
a lap.
that's not the world we're living in now.
I feel like I did a lap around the office when they announced that they traded for Tulo.
What a fun
Like I was
day.
just like, what are we doing here? We got David Price. Like that's not a thing that like, to your point, Tones, you can't, we're trying to hold it to those standards when like
Yeah.
that was legit. What a time to be alive. Like that was just, a whole different wave. We had Kevin Durant at their games in Blue Jays jerseys, right? And us believing that maybe Kevin Durant's coming to the Raptors. Like we were on a different
Yeah.
stratosphere during those times.
I'm,
Like that
I'm pretty sure
Josh-
Drew Hutchinson was our opening day starter that season. We went from that to like 3 months later, like getting all
David
these
Bright starting a
superstars
game
and being
with
like fucking amazing. Like a little different.
When Josh Donaldson tweeted it's getting hot up in the 6th, that a tweet never gave me goosebumps, man. It was crazy.